Hey guys, so this is part 3, and this time we're going to advise our 16-year-old self about how to deal with challenges of life. So we'll talk from a spiritual perspective, an emotional perspective, and I guess mental or physical as well, actually.
Yeah, physical, yeah.
Yeah. So I think you can go first.
You want me to go first?
Yes,
right?
please.
So, what topic do you want me to tackle first?
Go with the flow of life.
All right. I'll just put all of them in one bundle and package it, right?
Safi.
And then if I don't make myself clear on any point, ask deeper questions, yeah?
Safi.
So, challenges of life.
Yeah.
To 16-year-old me.
Yep.
We're like, okay, mate. So, you're a young little teenager, living in London, and born in a Kenyan village. Your challenges are gonna be very, very, very fucking unique.
When did you go to UK? How old were you?
Like 13.
Okay.
Yeah, 13.
Okay.
Your challenges are gonna be very, very, very niche. There's not gonna be a lot of people that you know that would have gone through those.
Yeah.
That would be the first part. The second part, I would and I know I keep saying this a lot, awareness. I would let my 16-year-old know how fragile we are. So I read something, right? I don't know if it was a meme or it was something posted by somebody, and it said we don't realize how fragile we are as people. We are always a phone call away, a notification of death, an accident away from changing everything about ourselves.
Yeah.
That's how fragile and vulnerable we are. And I would make sure my 16-year-old is aware of that. Because at that point, right, at 16, right, there's so much fucking going on in your life. You're already a teenager, which comes up with at this point in life where you're discovering, you're either trying to distance yourself from your past so that you can form your own personal identity that you're going to move forward with, but you don't know where to start.
Yeah.
So, what would I say to my 16-year-old self? This is really tricky. Because I also think there is a necessity to have your fair deal of struggles, because they're character builders, and therefore I would not stop my 16-year-old me from having through their struggles. But I suppose the tool I would give them the most is be aware of them, be also aware of what these struggles are doing to you, because whether we like to admit to it, our struggles change us, our pain changes, our heartaches changes. I was listening to this lecturer who said they check mental pain, emotional pain. You know, in your brain it lights up physical pain. It lights up physical pain, and the fact that we are not aware of that, we go through acting like we are not hurt, well, we are really, really hurt. And until we deal with those hurts, it's fucking impossible to have a spiritual experience or be an authentic you, because you'll always be responding to your pains instead of
Yeah.
So, to my 16-year-old me, there's gonna be a lot of challenging moments ahead of you. Be grateful for these moments, be aware of them, and be sure to know what they're teaching you. When you need advice from outside, make sure you seek it from the right sources, because that can also make or break you.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah?
No. I totally agree. Okay, so I work best if I compartmentalize things.
Yeah.
So spiritually, read the Bible.
Okay.
Read the Bible. I'll give you an example. 2 weeks ago, I think, or a week ago, the Somalian government has now changed the law that rape victims don't have to marry their rapist. Okay? Don't be shocked, because in the book of Deuteronomy, that was the law back then. That if I, as a woman, was raped by by an individual and I hadn't been claimed by anyone, so no one had said that they would marry me, the law back then meant that that rapist now had to offer dowry to my father and then I marry them. Now what I'm trying to say, when you read the Bible, you won't be so shocked about things when they happen to you. You will be able to see how like life has changed. And I was telling my mom and my mom's friend, I'm so happy I'm alive at 2017, not back in that day. Like that must have been a very difficult experience in life. And to know that that's still been happening until recently or a week or two ago.
I'm sure it still happens. Just because it says that doesn't mean that there's not going to be any lawbreakers, you know what I mean?
But what I'm saying is that like life journeys are different. Like religion affects how you think, affects how people live. So when you start to learn about the history, like for me, obviously I'm Christian. So for me, history comes from one aspect is the book, the Bible. So just seeing the journey of life makes me realize that there've been people who've gone through much more difficult situations. In an experience that I pray to God that I never have to experience what some of those Somalian women still now who have had to experience now. So it makes me realize that life is always, reading the Bible has taught me that life, it comes with difficulty. End of.
But it's amazing
Don't expect that life is going to be a smooth sailing. Even if you're coming from the richest family, you're going to have your own versions of difficulty. My version of difficulty might not be your version. So don't belittle someone else's difficulty also, because you don't know their journey of life. You don't know their train of thought. And so for me, reading the Bible has taught me to learn that life comes with its difficulties, but at the same time, it teaches me to respect the fact that people's viewpoint is because of maybe where they've come from, culture, also gender comes into it.
So there's no like, are you saying there's like no objective morality?
Not in a, because you see.
Because like what we find acceptable
if I use that example of what I said about the Somalian, that was acceptable.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. There's no objective morality.
In my world, that's bloody insane.
Exactly, and therefore, if you were sitting down having a conversation with a Somalian that believes in this, you would have very, very different realities and morality.
Exactly. So goes to my second point: vantage points.
Oh, man, we had a long conversation about this the other day, didn't we?
And there is everything you go through is don't have a one-way thinking point. And Charles said something. Sometimes you might have to seek counsel from different people, and it's important to do that. If you find just keep hitting the brick wall, then you need to seek counsel, but seek counsel from the right people. And don't take everything that they say as gospel, right? But do listen to what feels right. Again, I go back to saying gut. Your instincts is everything. If your alarm bells go off, then run, bitch, run. So goes to my next point. I have come to learn the best way to know what's the right thing to do is that peace must follow. And that's why I always link everything back to spirituality. Because to me, if I'm a child of God. So if I'm a child of God, God doesn't, is not from conflict. Like he doesn't, if he wants me to do something, I will have clarity.
God is love, isn't it?
Yeah.
Come from a very peaceful place.
Exactly. So it'll be clear and I'll come with, and that decision that I make, peace will follow.
Yeah.
So if I'm confused, if I'm conflicted, means I'm way out of God's line. So, and that's why for me, my 16-year-old self, and I believe I was still that person, and I've never changed, is that I would carry on telling my 16-year-old self, keep reading the Bible, praying. If you can fast. I'm Catholic, so I believe in novena prayers. Like, don't always run to people to ask them to pray for you. Start praying for yourself. Change yourself. And that's the second point. Don't be about wanting other people to change. How about you adapt yourself to suit them? Because they, again, vantage points. Perhaps their way of thinking is their way of thinking because of so many factors that I've mentioned before, culture, history.
Experiences.
Yeah. So don't try to get them to change. You try and understand where they're coming from. And if you feel you can't understand, just X them out of your life, because then they will start bringing conflict to you, because again, that thing of immorality or like their way of viewpoint is something that you completely disagree with. So don't put yourself in that point, because then you become, you get choked up like a weed, like you're a plant who's getting choked up. So physically, exercise. I was a fat kid. I was overweight, and
I had my chubby points.
don't eat to finish what's on the food. Eat to be full. And that thing of parents, oh my God, yeah, don't be that parent that
Finish
says,
your food.
"Oh, children in Africa or in India are don't have any food. You have to finish." Oh my God,
I got one for you.
don't listen to that. Eat to get full. And if you can't finish what's on the plate, pack it up, eat it tomorrow for lunch. You know what I mean? So for me, physical exercise is important. Make time for exercise. I hated PE because I was fat. But I liked football. I played football. I was really shit at it, but I loved it anyway. But like I would say exercise. And then what were you going to say before I move on to mentality?
I was going to say, going back to that point, like African parents, like like guilting you into eating all the food.
Yeah.
I remember like about that time period we're talking about, I had a conversation with my mom's, and she comes over in the house, right? Like we're eating. And then I have this terrible habit. It still goes on to this day where I always like leave food on the table, right? So I consider it finished, and then there's still food left on the table. I left it over there. Mom comes over and goes like, Charles, like, you know there's kids starving in Africa and you're leaving food on your plate. And I was like a cocky little shit, right? So I went like, Mom, even if I finish my food, they'll still be starving, innit?
You know what? That's it. That's it. That is so true. It's very true. Which goes on to my point of like mentality, like your mental health is very important. How to keep that up is reading books, self-help books. I am that girl. TED Talks came to save lives. Watch TED Talks. Watch if you have a problem, like, so if you worry a lot, find a book about worrying. There's someone who went through what you were going through. Read about it, know how to tackle it.
Yeah.
If you've reached a point where you might need
The
medical
Chimp
help.
Paradox is that book.
Yeah, okay, cool.
Yeah.
If you've reached a point where maybe you might need medical help, go seek medical help. There is nothing wrong with that.
Also be aware of it.
Yes,
like,
be conscious of that, because a lot of people, I don't know what the rate is for committing suicide, but like a lot of people are committing suicide because they're not seeking medical help when they need to. And that goes without saying, be careful who you seek counsel from, because they might counsel you the wrong way. So seek medical help. And if that's not for you, that's why I say there's someone who's written a book about anxiety. Read it if that's what it is you're going through. So reading is important. It's just, it's like having your own personal counselor in a book, and you read it and it like you have ka-ching moments. And it's not even just for mental health. It will give you ideas about what you want to do in terms of career. It will teach you about finance.
It will teach you about yourself and like,
about relationships.
Finding your purpose.
Exactly.
Because like all of these things, like they all have to be in alignment for you to like escape like mental health issues and stuff like that. Actually, coming to talk about that, I think is important. Like when I talk about this, like speak of like real experiences, and I can speak about mental health like really, really well, because I have a thing or two. I'm aware of it to some extent. Like, remember when I was talking about the fragility of life? Like in 2014, you're aware of like what happened, right?
Yeah.
Like I lost like one of my best friends, and then followed like really closely by my sister, and then subsequently over that, I went through this really dark depression. And that's what I was saying, like, you don't realize, like, how fragile your life is, like, your, like, living is, until those things, like, both happened over, like, 3 months, and at the same time, changing a job. That is a lot.
And he was doing, I just have to say this, he was doing a job that was very high pressure job.
Yeah, of course. That was a lot to take in at that particular time. And again, talking about awareness, because I went through a whole year of like not dealing with like any of the tragedies around it, never quantifying what that meant to me, putting like grief a bit, until I got to a point where like I cracked. Like I physically like cracked. Like like my personality, everything that I thought I was, I had to like question it. Like, and that's a really scary thing to do. And I know that's why, I don't know, I was like really suicidal as well. Like really, I was on a cocktail of like drugs. So I get that, and that's what I would say to like my 16-year-old self. Like these things inevitably are gonna happen in your life.
You have to say, when you say cocktail of drugs, medical drugs, not not drugs. Just have to clarify
no
that.
fun drugs.
Yeah.
There was no fun there.
Yeah, but go on. Sorry.
Yeah. But what was I saying? Thanks for interrupting me.
I'm sorry, but like, let's just go back to you. You're on cocktail of drugs. You're feeling suicidal.
Yeah.
And so it just made you revert back to now.
Yeah.
Aligning yourself in the
exactly,
right way.
exactly, and that's what I would say to like my 16-year-old self. Like inevitably, there will be crises in your life
that will change.
That will change like the very. And right now, I'm even speaking of awareness. I don't know what's like happening in the next 10 years, and therefore I'm aware there will be like other things that will change me, shape me, and that's why like it's important to like have like a grounding thingy. So again, to 16-year-olds, find like your grounding. Right now, I find like my grounding is in not being too fucking agreeable, like fighting for
what's right.
My way of thinking, whether it pleases or displeases others. Like right now, right? I can honestly. What's the date today?
Today is 30th of January.
30th of January 2018. If I lined up a list of the people that I've really, really pissed off on this journey over the last 2 years, it would sneak from here to Gateway Mall. And unfortunately, I'm unapologetic about it because I realized, like, the main reason most of them are so pissed off is not because of something I did that was like overly. It's just because I won't do. I won't do what they want me to do. It's because I used to be quite agreeable, and I got to a point where I was like, no, fuck that shit. Like I need to like fucking like form my own path, and if it means like pissing a lot of people off, so be it. Because this is temporary, and if I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing, I'm doing what everybody else thinks. Like I'm gonna be sitting there like on my deathbed at 115, which is like how long I'm planning to live, and looking back, life, like looking at all these like opportunities that I was given to like change things up and didn't, and I'll just be looking at like a carcass of a life that should have been well lived but wasn't. And then also you realize, like when you start making, like you said earlier on, like like how you know you're on the right path, like your decisions are immediately followed with peace.
Literally, that is my formula to making decisions. If I'm now comfortable in this place of, if I've made the wrong decision and I'm conflicted, I'm comfortable to go back and rectify it. Before, that's like why I was saying in relationships, I would just stick because I'd be like, it's going to change.
Yeah.
But in the end, I hurt myself more.
Yeah.
So now I'm comfortable to say, actually, no.
Yeah.
And but I guess that's why for me, I would insist on my 16-year-old self to still go back to God and spirituality and having your own relationship with God. And doesn't necessarily mean that you must go to church every Sunday.
You must be religious.
But you must make time to read the Bible, to pray, and have your discussion with God.
You must align yourself with God.
Yeah.
Because
those are just channels. Church is a channel. And whatever religion you fall under, that's just a channel of
and if you don't fall in religion, it's okay too.
But you have to have your relationship
with God.
Yeah, because that way, then you can be comfortably say no. You can comfortably change something if it's wrong. Yeah, you're centered. You start to begin to realize who, what, how, when. You know, all that starts to come to play.
Yeah.
So for me, it will always going back to that, and I just and also just look after yourself in every form of way.
Yeah.
If people are not for you, like just really protect yourself.
Yeah.
Like you can really get lost in this life, and sometimes you can get lost and never come out of it. And that is a scary and very true fact.
Yeah.
Sadly.
Yeah. And the final part I like to say is like PMA, positive mental attitude, because just like understand things are going to happen in life and they're not necessarily happening to you. Your interpretation of those things is what either makes you laugh or cry. And if you come over from a positive perspective, you'll always be grateful for the lessons.
It doesn't happen to you, it happens through you. That's it.
Like how else
Drops
like to finish
mic.
that?
Drops mic. Pow. Thanks so much, Charles, for joining me and sharing your experiences. And I hope this will help you guys, even if you're not 16, to find your path, to be okay with being in your path. And I just wish you all the best. And again, subscribe to my channel if you haven't. And lovingly stalk me. Details of how to do that are down below. Take care. Bye. Say bye.
No.
Wow. He's really practicing. Good. Bye, guys.